Welcome back to another episode of the Hello Sis Dorsey podcast. I have Tanessa on the show today. How are you doing today?
Great, Candace. How's it going?
It's going good. I'm really excited about this episode. So tell everyone who you are and what you do.
Yeah, my name is Tanessa Shears. First and foremost, I'm a mama. I've got a 1 and a 3-year-old right now, so we're in that phase of life. But for work, I'm a health consultant. In my job, I work with entrepreneurs, and what I do is I help them make their health a priority again. It's so easy being an entrepreneur to be like, yes, we're gonna get this business up and running, and then I'll work on, and then I'll get my life organized. Then I'll work on my health. But we find we get these businesses up and running, and we're just not taking care of ourselves. We're drained at the end of the day. We're relying on coffee to keep us going. We're experiencing like this really intense brain fog, and everything feels like it takes longer. You're distracted. You don't feel the way you thought this whole business thing would feel a lot better. So my job is I come in and I use like a really cool combination of wearable tech. Like I give my clients Aura rings. They manage and measure anything we need to make good decisions. And I help them make protocols that fit into their entrepreneurial lifestyle. So like, how can we sleep better? How can we eat better? How can we move? How can we manage our stress so that our business feels as good as it was supposed to feel the whole time? Let's take care of us. So that's me in a nutshell.
Oh, this is awesome because it's so funny. I totally it was so weird. I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday. I actually looked at the Aura ring and I was like, huh, I wonder if those things actually really work. Because I seen another entrepreneur like on my Instagram. I seen her wearing one and I honestly thought those were wedding rings. And I'm like, dude, you got the wedding ring on the wrong finger. Like you got your wedding
Yeah.
band on the wrong finger, but I didn't know it was an Aura ring. And I'm like, I wonder if those things actually really work.
Oh, yes, they do. They are like, I always think of like the things we wear on our wrists are good for activity trackers. Where the Aura ring like brings it is a rest and recovery tracker. And I feel like as entrepreneurs, that's what we miss. We miss managing the stress, we miss the presence, we miss the slowdown, we miss the sleep. And so this really does monitor everything from your body's stress levels to your heart rate to how you're sleeping and gives you feedback. And I think that is so important because as entrepreneurs, we're all about return on investment. We're all about knowing our data, making decisions based on numbers and not feelings. And I think that's why I was like, I know how to help entrepreneurs get themselves back on track. I'm going to use data and I'm going to make it return on investment related. And I think that's why we get so much buy-in is it's like, yes, I can see the data changing. I see my decisions reflected in that. And I know where to put my energy. I'm not wasting my time, doing some health habit that an influencer on Instagram said to do. Like it's actually based on me. And so, yes, the Aura Ring lives up to the hype, in my opinion.
So let's talk about the inspiration behind you starting your business. What was that like for you?
Yeah, originally I started it in 2014. So we're coming up on 10 years in February already. And I remember like I was worked in a big box gym as a personal trainer for the longest time. And I remember going to these like it was some person who sold mutual funds or like investments and they were had this meeting and I went to one of them. And she said, why don't you open your own business? And I was like, I was keep in mind, I was 22 at the time. I was like, that's for old people. Like 22-year-olds don't open businesses. Like that was my mindset. I didn't know any 20-year-olds with a business. Anybody I had thought of that owned a company, like I'm thinking of like who owns Starbucks, who owns Amazon. Like those guys are like to a 20-year-old, those guys were like, they'd been around a while. And I'm like, 20-year-olds don't open businesses. And she goes to me, Snazzy, you're living at home. You're never gonna have a better time than now to open a business. You have a safety net. If you fail, you can fail often, hard, and fast. And so I was like, okay, let's go. So I opened up a personal training business and it grew to six figures like within about a year and a half. And it was a ton of fun. But then just, naturally, as things change and you grow up as an entrepreneur and you innovate, I now only work online. I don't do in-person personal training anymore, but I work online with entrepreneurs to help them optimize their energy and their focus and stuff. So that's how I started. And then big shift to get to where I am now.
Oh, this is awesome. It's amazing. Yeah, I thought the same thing. So we're both on the same boat when I was in my
Yeah.
20s. Can you remember a time in your business starting out where you had like a hello moment, like this is supposed to be what I'm doing?
You know what? I always felt that like fitness was fun. I didn't get that moment until I pivoted into my now business. Cause I was just more this is fun. I'm teaching fitness. I have the energy for it. It's great. I got my classes. Like it was fun and I felt good doing it. But I remember specifically I remember sitting down, typing a newsletter, and I had brand new baby on one of those like feeding pillows sitting in front of me. And I was sitting there like, my brain's not working. And then that's when I began this journey of figuring out sleep. And it wasn't until I really started to understand how much sleep affected my business. And I was posting it on Instagram, being like, you guys, I'm working on my sleep and this is how I'm feeling. This is my exercise. This is how everything's affected. And I started getting such good feedback that I started teaching sleep. And it's now this feedback that I'm getting from clients where it's like, I'm waking up at 6:30 without an alarm clock. My mornings don't feel rushed anymore. I get to see my kids off to work in the morning. I am actually exercising. I feel like my day is present now. Like when those moments, like it's so much beyond just being healthy and working out, but it's like, you have the energy to go and hang out with your kids after you get off work now, and you don't feel so drained that all you have the energy for is TV. Like when I saw that, like this is giving people their lives back. Like, oh, it was so good. It's like, this is like, I'm in the right field for this. This is what I was meant to teach. And
I
I love
love
sleep. I think I should say that I'm obsessed.
I love this. I love this so much because it's so funny. I'm kind of segueing a little bit, but so I did a sleep study, like I had to do a sleep study through my doctor and everything, and I'm going to find out I had sleep apnea, and I would stop breathing while I was sleeping and everything, and they was like, "Oh, well, here's our sleep, our CPAP machine and everything." I was like, "I'm not doing that." I was like, "Oh no," because I see people who may have like heart problems or older people on like I'm thinking like the breathing machine, right? I was like, oh no, I'll just lose weight. And it was like, I'm going to be honest with you. It's going to take a long time for you to lose weight and for it to actually, work your sleep pattern and everything. It was like, this is a, treatment and everything. So I was like, but it hit me when I felt myself stop breathing for too long in my sleep. And I'm like gasping for air. And I was like, maybe I should do it. So I'm fighting with the machine when I first started off. And I was like, I'm not doing this. I kept doing off and on and everything, right? It wasn't until I went to Disneyland. So I'm a big, huge Disneyland fan, right? And I brought the machine. You like Disney too?
We did our honeymoon in Disney World.
Oh my gosh, you have to tell me
Yeah.
more about that.
Yeah.
I so that's like on my bucket list now. So I went to Disney and I brought the machine, and because we drive, I every time we drive, I it's hard for me to breathe. I snore and it's loud and keeps my mom up. So I brought the machine with me. I said maybe this to help. It was the first time I actually had the machine on the whole night. And do you know that when I woke up, I was like,
A new
let's
person.
go. Like I wasn't tired and everything. I had my mama running around the park. Let's do this, let's do that. So much mental clarity. And when you mention sleep, I'm like, yes, I'm like a huge fan on getting the proper sleep that you need.
Yeah, it makes such a difference to your brain. I think like it's interesting getting not enough sleep, whether that be because you're up because your breathing is waking you up during the night, or you've got kids that are waking you up, or you just in general don't get great sleep. Like your brain can't recover. And the worst thing is like we have this thing called baseline resetting that happens. It's like you stop noticing the level of sleep deprivation, and you're just like, yep, 6 hours is fine. I feel great. I feel fine. And then you get a night of really good sleep, like what you had, and you're just like, wait a second. Wait a second. I'm operating over here at 50%. You're telling me this is a thing? It's a thing.
That is so awesome and so timely that we're talking about this. So let's talk about double your energy and double your focus. We're already talking about it, so let's go ahead and continue on the conversation.
Yeah, I think what most of us don't really recognize is how much time we lose every day to brain fog, to feeling distracted, to feeling unfocused, to feeling like, when you just can't get in the groove of stuff because your brain is not working the way it should. Like it doesn't feel sharp. It doesn't feel clear. Right. And I think we don't often recognize how much of that is attributed to really good sleep, to our what we're eating, and also to if we're keeping our stress in check, right? Like that brain fog is something we're really looking at how much inflammation is going on in our body. And I directly think that, like, as entrepreneurs, I know that we tend to value productivity over a lot of health stuff. Like, if I could just get this done, or I'm going to just get through the end of this list and I'll just stay up a little bit tonight. What I don't think we really recognize is how much time we lose to a brain that's not working properly. So, like, if we stay up late to work, it might take up an extra hour or two to do the same thing tomorrow because like we're distracted. So I always think of like sleep as my ultimate productivity weapon because you're only as productive as you are energized. I've never been productive on a low energy day. And so I always cultivate my energy, whether that be through food or exercise, managing my stress, good sleep. It's like my energy is the most important thing because if you think it this way, in your business, your brain is the best asset you have, period. If you don't have your brain, nothing you've built makes a difference. You can't run the business. You can't be in the business. You can't talk to the clients. You can't run the team. None of it. Right. And so if my brain isn't working, I can't do my job. So it's even more valuable than my course or my community or my systems. Right. And so I look at it that way. And as like, if I, this is the asset that needs to be working the best. And I treat it that way first. And then it pays dividends in the business because you get more done. You feel more effective. You're more creative. You're in a better mood. And on top of that, you're cool as a cucumber. Like there's a lot of trolls on Instagram and TikTok these days. Like I do not want to be set off by one of them and I lose a whole day. I want to be like, okay, I see you. I'm monitoring my brain. I have control of my emotions. And a lot of that comes from good sleep.
I agree with you 100% because I, and you're right, because I've noticed that since I've been getting good sleep, I've noticed that the negative thoughts or the negative things that I say to myself or anything negative like, "Oh, this isn't gonna work," "I'm wasting my time," or the shiny object keep going from here to here. I've noticed that that has toned down so much since I've gotten better sleep, and the energy and the positivity has definitely increased. And
Yeah,
I yeah.
it's a real thing. It is. Like we don't just like it's interesting. Considering we're spending a third of our lives doing it, we really have no idea what's going on. Like our brain just doesn't go off and then back on. Like our brain goes through different phases that nurture our brain. And one of them, for example, is REM sleep. And I think this is going to lend well to what you said. REM sleep, rapid eye movement is when we dream, right? So here's a fascinating thing. This blew my mind. This research study had two groups of people, and one of them they deprived of REM sleep, so dream sleep. And they showed both groups pictures that became more and more negative. The group that had enough dream sleep during the night responded much more neutrally. And the group that had less REM sleep had much more exaggerated, negative, intense, intrusive thoughts. And REM sleep helps you control that short term gratification, that ability to manage your thinking, and the extent of how emotional you are during the day. So I think of REM sleep as entrepreneurial gold. Like it is what makes me creative. It helps me think outside of the box, helps me manage my emotion. And even better, like it helps you understand facial expressions and body gestures. If you have a team, if you have clients, if you have customers, I want to be knowing when I'm talking to them, I'm like, okay, they're not understanding what I'm saying. Ooh, that didn't hit so well. Oh, look, they totally are digging this right now because that's giving my brain feedback. I don't want to have to work to be a good coach. I want to be able to absorb that while doing my job. So, like, it's so much more than just, something to get to the other day. It's like, it is the foundation on which we build our businesses, is a good, sharp brain.
Oh, love this so much. This definitely can help so many people. Like I could talk about this now. Since when you said sleep, I was like, I'm getting sleep. This is my topic now. I love it so much. Oh my goodness. And for everyone out there that's like knocking the CPAP machine, and I know it looks a little bit weird, but I love it so, so much. I plan to get off of it, eventually, but it's helping me so much, like
Your brain
really.
is getting the oxygen it needs, and that's
Yes.
what matters, right? And I've had clients that have been on the CPAP and there's a resistance to it, right? I totally
Yeah.
get it. It's loud, it can be uncomfortable, but if your brain isn't getting enough oxygen during the night, you're gonna have brain fog. And so the question just becomes, am I willing to be uncomfortable tonight so that I can feel good tomorrow? Because the other option is just I don't feel good at all. I'm tired during the day and I don't sleep well at night, right? So I find
Yeah.
it's like a really kind of one of those things, like you said, it's just sometimes it's worth the little extra discomfort to be able to have that brain that works better during the day.
Yes, 100%. Oh, so good. So any last minute advice you have for our listeners out there?
Yeah, a lot of people are like, where do I start? And I think, especially if we're going to just narrow this conversation in onto sleep, I would just consider that bedtime is the front in the line of dominoes. Like often, when we think about getting healthy, we're like, ooh, I want to work on my exercise. I want to eat differently. Like that's what we think of as health. But I can tell you, I have never, ever been excited to get up and work out if I'm exhausted and tired. And on top of that, not sleeping well makes you hungrier. It makes your cravings worse. It makes everything else feel uphill. So if you are like in this place where you're like, I'm ready to start prioritizing my health, start with sleep. And the domino at the front of that stack of changes is always going to bed on time. And it's that skill. I think that's the best one to master if you're looking at making this change.
Awesome. So where can everyone find you?
I hang out on Instagram. I'm at Tanessa Shears, and I'm pretty active on there. I post all the time. So come say hi. But beyond that, I've put these like 12 biohacks that I feel are really the best for helping us be productive and energized in the morning. And I put them in a playbook. And I've called it 12 ways to biohack your energy. And the fun thing is all the hacks on their own work. And they're also linked to an episode on my podcast, Becoming Limitless, where it's like, ooh, let's talk about caffeine, how to use that to optimize the brain. There's an episode on that. You know what I mean? So you can really dig in there and just layer in a habit at a time. And that's on my website, TanessaShears.com. There's a little freebies tab at the top. You tap that and it's in there.
Awesome. We're definitely gonna link those up in the show notes. Well, Tanessa, thank you so much for being on the show. I really, really appreciate it. And this topic that we discussed came at a awesome time. And I know that my audience is definitely gonna find value in it because I have just in this 20 minutes just now. So it's been awesome for me as well.
Oh, I love it. If we can inspire anybody about sleep, then we both win, right?
Yes.